Hello and welcome to the review of a brand new GLC. That's right, this is the second generation GLC and it feels like it's been around forever, but it is only the second generation of this. And for those of you that want to know what GLC actually stands for, apparently it's Geländewagen C-Class. So that kind of places it at like an off-road C-Class kind of SUV. But nevertheless, we got a lot to talk about here, so let's roll some credits and get on with the review.
Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
You deserve insurance that doesn't faff around. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.
First, let me tell you a little bit about the model I have on test here. This is the GLC 300D. That means it has a 2-liter turbo diesel engine with 190 kilowatts and 550 Newton meters of torque. Now, together with that, there is a mild hybrid element to it. So it has a small battery and electric motor that's able to deliver an extra 17 kilowatts and 200 Newton meters of torque at certain times. Now, when those times are, it's up to the computer on board to kind of decide. So you'll never have that in addition to your peak torque and power figures. But I have to say, driving this, it works quite well when you just come to a stop or when you accelerate. That little bit of like electric motor takeover just kind of takes away when you would be using most fuel to accelerate. So you get a little bit of the electric motor as you pull away and a little bit of the electric motor when you come to like a standstill, and you get, it's almost imperceptible when they hand over from one to the other. It's really well designed and really well integrated into the drivetrain. I also have to say that, like, for such a powerful diesel motor, it's actually very fuel efficient. We've got 6.8 liters per 100 after about 1,200 kilometers. So extremely fuel efficient. If you want something that is going to do a lot of mileage at very fuel efficient rate, then the 300D is probably the pick of the range. There is a 200D in there as well, which will be a little bit more efficient, but is obviously a little bit less powerful. But in terms of like overtaking speed, in-town acceleration and performance, this is really a great blend of those two things. The other option in the range right now is a 2-liter turbo petrol. It's similar speed to this in terms of acceleration figures, but your fuel economy is not nearly as efficient as this. So if I was going to pick a GLC in the range, it would probably be this. It seems to be the best blend of power, performance and efficiency. It does come at a cost though. It is the most expensive car in the range right now. As for how the engine actually feels when you get out here and drive it, Mercedes-Benz continues to impress with their drivetrains. The 9-speed gearbox in here is almost imperceptible to when it shifts gear, and when it accelerates, brakes, goes up and down, you hardly notice the gearbox. And I think that's probably the best compliment you can pay a gearbox at the moment with automatic boxes, is that you don't really feel it shifting gear. It doesn't get in the way. It's not clunky. Mercedes-Benz's strongest point right now is their drivetrains. The performance, efficiency, and ease of use would be the biggest gold star. Is the Mercedes-Benz GLC good to drive? Well, it is based on the C-Class chassis, and we have a review of that C-Class, which Chiro did, which you can click in the video here, and we'll leave a link in the description below as well. But the C-Class chassis is a much improved chassis. It's very well damped, and Mercedes-Benz, they know their target market. They know that the C-Class owner is maybe a little bit older, a little bit less about performance and handling, and more about ride quality and comfort. And that's what's kind of built into the chassis. And that's the same with this GLC. It is a comfortable car to drive. In this specific car, we've got the air suspension, which allows you to raise and lower and also kind of softens out the ride a little bit further. But it is a little bit confusing that the off-road suspension in this car has been spec'd with the 20-inch wheels, which are the biggest you can get right now. It's a bit contradictory that you specify your biggest wheels with the most comfortable suspension. They kind of cancel each other out a little bit there. But personal preference would be for a slightly smaller wheel. I mean, the run flats on this are quite stiff, and having a bigger wheel makes it a little bit stiffer. So I really do like the air suspension on here. I think it levels out the car quite nicely when you're cornering. But the ride quality that comes from those big wheels and the small rubber sidewall that you get because of that 20-inch wheel kind of makes it a little bit bouncy or a little bit crunchy when you go over like expansion joints in the freeway or a manhole cover or a pothole, something like that. The effect inside the cabin is a little bit more exaggerated because of those big wheels. So I will admit they look good, but be prepared that like the ride quality is going to be compromised slightly because of those big wheels. Mercedes-Benz have really got the steering sorted in this car, and with that air suspension comes rear wheel steering in this, so it is particularly dynamic at low speeds when the wheels are turning in the opposite direction to the front. But obviously both the air suspension and the rear wheel steering come at I think a 50,000 Rand optional premium. Speaking about optional extras, Mercedes-Benz has like 4 packages now that you can that have options bundled into them. So you've got like Advanced Plus, Premium and Premium Plus, and each one of those packages comes at like a little extra additional cost up to the Premium Plus package, which I think is about 140,000 Rand worth of extras. So extras do get quite expensive when you want a fully spec'd car. You can check out our specs and pricing article if you want to see exactly what each one of those comes with, or you can use our compare tool. The interior of the new GLC. Most of the attention has been paid to the interior of the new car, and while it is just a copy of the C-Class in terms of its design, there are still some nice things to pick out. It's very nicely designed and laid out, I have to say. Even though this is plastic, it's nice to look at. The air vents across the top, obviously a big change from the previous GLC where your screen was there and your vents were a different shape, they were underneath the screen. So major change for the model there. But yeah, these are quite nice to touch, move around, change the air. It's very nicely designed, I have to say. The same with the steering wheel. It's now got like multiple small spokes in here with little touch pads to adjust things like your volume, your digital display here, and fiddle with that touchscreen if you need to move certain basic functionality from this side. You do find that occasionally if you are really focused on driving that you'll knock a few of these with your thumb, but it's not as bad as some models, like for instance the Volkswagen brands can be a little bit too easy to haptically touch those. But if we have a look at the instrument cluster here, very nicely laid out, big dials, really crisp screen here as well, and you've got multiple themes that you can change through. So I'm currently in classic, but sport makes everything go red, and then if we go to like understated, it goes purple, and you've just got like a clock and a speedo. One of the interesting ones though is the off-road mode. So if I go across here to off-road, it brings up your rev limiter and then like the angle of your steering wheel, which is quite cool, and it just like gives you like level balance as well for the car. You've also got a compass there in case you need to know which direction of travel you're going, and then the background is like the desert, which is quite funky and quite cool. Obviously then if we move to this screen, which is where all your settings and functionality and volume controls and all of that sort of stuff is in here for your media and entertainment purposes. We shall start with this little button here, which is like a thumb or a fingerprint scanner. So you would select there, and then it will read your fingerprint and then bring up your whole profiles, your specific profile, which would adjust your seat and adjust all of these settings as you prefer them or as you've calibrated. Then you've got quick changes for climate control in here as well. So your climate control settings are here, but your seat heating is up here with the seat adjustment for electric seat adjustment is up here as well. So mix between the two there. Then if we go into some of the menus here, which are quite cool, if we go to the camera mode, you've got a 360-degree cam to start with, but this also has an off-road mode, which if I engage it via the menu, gives you your tire pressures, suspension level of compression because it's the air suspension, and then you can also raise and lower the suspension here. You can turn off your traction control and put your hill descent control on from here as well. So if we raise it, I don't know which way we're going now. We are rising, we're rising. There we go, there's a rise. And we can lower it as well. Lower, cool. Yes, and then it has a very cool off-road camera, which projects underneath your car. The whole camera system only works at like below 20 k's an hour, but it displays everything below you, so that when you're driving over curbs, dirt or gravel or rocks and stuff, you can see what's underneath the bonnet and what you've just driven over directly in front of you. Similar system to what Range Rover has, but in here it kind of makes less sense, considering that this car isn't made to go off-road like a Land Rover is. It's more sort of like an on-roader with the ability to do a little bit of off-roading, but I think in order to make the car a bit more unique, they've added off-road features for it. Suspect that won't get used particularly much, but still nice to show your buddies when you're driving around in the car. Then in terms of your connectivity options, in here you have two USB-C ports there. You've got two inside the center console with like a little shelf on top here that slides across, but it's quite a big center console if I've ever seen one. Then they've also installed a wireless charging point, which is kind of under here, and I like that because it's out of the way, and all the distractions that come from a phone flashing or lighting up are kind of underneath the transmission tunnel, so you don't really see them. So you get all your notifications through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which is wirelessly connected in here, but I quite like having that out of the way. Then you've got two cup holders and a little bit of storage space to the side of it. Very useful. And then obviously, being a Mercedes-Benz, you'll probably want to spec the panoramic sunroof, and this is a touch system, so you just kind of slide it like that and the whole thing kind of opens up. Then in terms of your actual build quality inside, I really like the steering wheel. It's got a nice feel to it, nice comfortable design to it as well. I also like the pin-pricked leather on this one. Build quality's not been Mercedes' strong point of late, but I have to say this one is better than some of the previous models that we've had from Mercedes-Benz recently. The shut lines look a little bit tighter in this, and if you prod and move the plasticky parts, they feel a bit more solid to the touch. So overall, it's a really nicely designed interior, very technology driven, and it feels brand new, which is really great. Like, it doesn't feel, sometimes you get an interior from a premium manufacturer and it still feels a little bit like a few years old, whereas this one is bang up to date and modern, and I really like the design of it. Right, the rear seat of the Mercedes-Benz GLC. Immediately, I notice I've got quite a lot of footroom. There's nice space between the seat and the floor to kind of get your feet underneath and sit comfortably. And then the seats are kind of caved in at the back here, so it gives you a little bit more knee room. Overall, a very comfortable position to sit in. Then in terms of your amenities here, you've got the same nice turnable air vents here, but strangely no climate control adjustment here, which for 1.5 million Rand seems a little bit disappointing, but there are two USB ports down here. Then I pulled this down here expecting to find cup holders here, but there weren't any. But then I found this thing here, which I expected to be cup holders, and when I pushed it, nothing happened. But then you got to like maneuver your fingers in there again to expose the cup holders. Very fancy cup holders, I gotta say. Very fancy. But if we smack that away, you've got a 3-point seat belt for the center position, and then easily accessible ISOFIX points on both sides. No Burmeister sound system in here, that's an optional extra, but still very premium place to sit. A climate control adjustment, nothing for the rear. It's really bugging me, I gotta say. But overall, very comfortable rear seat with a lot of headroom. So how big is the boot on the GLC? Well, Mercedes says it's 70 litres bigger than the previous GLC, which makes it about 620 litres big. And by looking at it, it's very square and very practical at that. And then here you have buttons to electronically unfold your seats from that side and from this side. And you've also got a way to adjust the height. So you have an access height button here and a raise button height there. But then the real test is the cooler box, which I have here. And as I slide it in, it hits the parcel shelf. So it doesn't, a standard cooler box doesn't quite go under the parcel shelf, but if you take it out, easy fits underneath, and then you can probably get about 1, 2, 3 with a decent space to the side. And then in the front here, again, if the parcel shelf was out, you could probably get 1, easy 2 in front of each other. Then, let me just take this out quickly. Underneath here, you've got a ton of space underneath for like storage or out of sight storage. And then you've got the classic Willys boxes here from the V-Class, which are in here if you forget your Willys bags. Very nice. If you do have normal bags, you've got straps here to strap them in, and then you've also got 2 decent sized hooks on either side and what looks like a 12-volt charging socket there. So before closing the boot, the electronic tailgate is standard. You do have a tow hitch dispenser here if you spec the electronic tow hitch, which we should have. Let's see. There's it. Very fancy. Then close it and done. Oh, I've got to put all this stuff back inside. For those of you that want to know about the after-sales service of a Mercedes-Benz GLC, well, it comes with a 2-year unlimited kilometer warranty and a 5-year 100,000 kilometer maintenance plan, which is kind of par for the segment. You can always go into your Mercedes-Benz dealer and upgrade those plans for a little bit more money. But overall, it's a fairly standard service plan and maintenance for the premium manufacturers. In terms of rivals, how does it compare? Well, the obvious rival is the BMW X3, and then there's the Audi Q5. You can also consider something like a Jag E-Pace or a Range Rover Evoque in there as well. So right now, the GLC is the newest of the rivals, with the others getting a little bit long in the tooth, but you can expect them to catch up within the next year or two. I think there's an X3 due next year, in fact. But you are paying a lot of money right now for a GLC. 1.5 million with the options loaded into this one. I think the GLC is the most modern in terms of the tech it has to offer, its current drive, its engine range, and the overall offering. It's definitely the most modern, but that modernness comes at like quite a large premium in terms of price. You're paying sometimes 300,000 Rand or 100,000 Rand more than the competitors. So if you're in the market for a premium mid-size SUV like this, you have to really want the GLC, I think, in order to choose it above the others. Currently, you can get enough spec in the others if you're looking for value for money. I think the others offer that, but if you really want the most modern car, something that's a little bit larger than the rivals as well, then I think the GLC is the immediate choice there. It's also in a segment where having something that's new or the best in town currently means a lot for that kind of buyer. So currently, I think the GLC is the best purchase for this kind of buyer right now.
Are you busy trying to decide between 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars, 6 cars, and getting absolutely lost in all of the specs and all of the different pricing? Well, we have an excellent compare tool on our main website and in our app for you to use. It's very detailed, it's very slick and quick and efficient, and I highly recommend it. I use it all the time when I'm doing research for our car shoots. So check it out. We'll put the link in the description below and tell us what you think. Tell us if it helped you out.
Cars.co.za.
Who am I?
Whoever you are, with budget you could save $420 per month.